Right now, what I see is the governor is really involved in drafting legislation. And it's funny how he walks around saying, I reduce taxes, I passed this bill and I passed that bill. It's like, well, you don't do that as a governor. Honest people have rights too. Oof. And the only hope they have is that other people will stand up for them when they're falsely accused, when they're falsely charged. Cost is at this point, we're so far, it's like they've destroyed so much of your life or tried so deliberately to destroy so much of your life. It's like, it's game on.
Yeah, I'm good. Is it right on my face? Okay, cool. Okay, now we start.
Yeah.
Phil Lyman, I want to start with you getting arrested. I feel like that's very important to understand why it happened.
Right.
Because a lot of people try to demonize you for that, but they don't understand that this was a heroic act, actually. You know, and I want to bring that to light.
Right.
So I feel like that's very important. A lot of people, or even your opponents, try to bring it up when it's like, bro, do you even know why he did that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of people just see the label, just, oh, he got arrested. But why?
Yeah.
You know, why was the purpose of that?
Yeah.
So I want to go into that. Why did it happen?
Well, you know, first of all, thanks for having me. I've never interviewed with a professional soccer player.
Yeah, you know, so it's different. You know, it's each other's first time.
Yeah. No, you did such a great job, and in this business, it's really hard to communicate with people and get the message out, and especially if we're talking about, you know, a mugshot or you know, going to jail, things like that. Because the first response people have is, you know, I don't know if I want somebody like that as my governor. You know, if he's an activist or, you know, driven by, you know, weird motivations and, you know, flouting the law. And when it happened back in 2014, when I was charged, we found really quickly that explaining never got you anywhere. You could try and try, but people either understood it or they didn't understand it. People do understand it a little better now that they've seen a few things evolve.
Now we understand. And media too, social media.
You know, because they've seen the weaponization of like the FBI against people deliberately trying to set people up. And it's becoming more real. Unfortunately, people, it's not so abstract because they have had their own experience with things. So, but mine was very much in response to some aggressive actions of the Bureau of Land Management in my little town of Blanding. And they were being motivated by the relationships that they have with some of the environmentalist groups, the special interest environmentalist groups, Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance, Great Old Broadsford Wilderness, some of these people that were pushing the BLM to close down roads and close down access in San Juan County. Well, that's where I live. That's where I've lived for my whole life and generations before me. My great-grandpa helped settle that. So the roads they're proposing to close and the narrative around it was rather offensive. Well, they came in and they raided the community. The community was devastated by that. 300 federal agents, a good friend of mine, 140 federal agents signed the registry in his living room that morning, the morning before he took his life the next day. Because of the trauma and the threats to him and to his family. And then you find out, so then that's what prompted me to run for county commissioner. And I really wanted answers. I wanted to know why, what happened, what was the crimes, and how. And it wasn't defiance. It wasn't saying, you know, this is wrong. It's like, explain this to us. Help us understand what was going on here. Well, as they failed to explain, and I got more agitated, ran for county commissioner, became a county commissioner, kept asking these questions, and ultimately it came to a protest ride on May 10th, 2014. So coming up on a 10-year anniversary. Yeah, we're coming right up on it. And we notified the Bureau of Land Management, said, this is what we're doing. We want to do this so that we can get the attention of the BLM, so they'll actually talk to us and give us some answers, because so far we haven't gotten anything. They keep closing our roads, closing access. We knew that we were going to get a national monument, which ended up happening at the end of the Obama administration. So this is important because in 2009, Obama took office. June of 2009, our community was raided. And all of this preparing for a national monument designation out on Cedar Mesa, which is beautiful, beautiful area. under the auspice of protecting Native American artifacts. Well, what they're really protecting is the uranium, the oil and the gas, locking things up.
That's
Just like they did with the Grand Staircase, locking up all of the coal, and just like they did here last year, going down to Arizona and putting a big national mine on top of another big part of the United States national uranium reserve. So they lock these things up, and when you look into these groups, they're being funded by people who really want to lock up the resources of the United States. Sorry, that's a long way to get to to the arrest, but it's kind of the framing it. There was a reason for it.
And it's important to know that a lot of these people, we're so burnable sometimes that these groups use something that people are so attached to in order to gain something. They put a custom on it, and they're like, "Oh no, this is what we're doing, and we're good." But in the backside, no, you're not. You're just trying to get a gain.
I wrote an op-ed in 2013, very much along that lines, and I said, this is a very old story of people taking something really valuable to you and using it as leverage to make you do what they want, and that's what was happening with Recapture Canyon. That's where we held the protest, and that's why, because they were going after people saying, "Oh, you've illegally constructed a road in Recapture Canyon." Well, there is a road in Recapture Canyon. It's a county road, and people drive up and down it in their station wagon. So it's not like a remote trail or anything like that. So we said, well, we'll do it in Recapture. I notified the BLM, said, this is what we're doing. This is why you guys don't like surprises. I don't want to, we're not planning on breaking the law, doing anything. The state BLM director at the time, Juan Palma, says, go ahead and have your celebration, ride, walk. No one's going to get arrested. I just want to work with you, Phil. We want to get this problem resolved, and I commit to you, I'm going to be down there. We're going to fix it. So he acknowledged, we've got some problems, and we've got some explaining to do to the people of Blanding, and we're going to do that. And in the meantime, you go ahead and you have your protest. I don't know if it's fair to even call it a protest, because it was really just to let the people feel like they were being heard by the Bureau of Land Management. Well, 5 months later, I get a call from the Salt Lake Tribune saying, "How do you feel about being charged federally?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I'll have to get back to you," because I didn't find out for 2 weeks after that I had been charged.
So they never told you, and they never contacted you about it?
No. So I wasn't arrested.
Wow.
I wasn't apprehended. And
see, that's crazy, because then we're going into another realm where it's like, oh, you just make a decision without him even knowing about it.
Yeah. And they notify the press, so the press knows, and so they go out and they try to undermine and basically prove you guilty in the newspapers before you ever even get to court, and that's exactly what happened.
Well, that's how these people become strong, by weakening the obstacle that they have.
You're right.
And I feel like you standing up for your people, you were an obstacle for them. So it's like, how can we take them down? And they found a way.
Well, being a county commissioner, that's what the U.S. attorney said. We want to teach these county commissioners a lesson. So I become symbolic of county commissioners, and it was that even county commissioners are not above the law. In other words, saying we don't want the county commissioners, which counties are really, really important level of government.
Yeah, very.
Commissioners are really important. If the federal government can put a chill on that resolve to represent your county, to do whatever you say, federal government, then they've really accomplished something. And that was the whole impetus behind my prosecution. So it was a very public prosecution. Misdemeanor, conspiracy to trespass was the charge, but it was treated as one of the biggest crimes of the decade. I was on the front page of the Tribune about 57 times through that period. So they made a huge deal of it. I didn't pick this fight. I didn't make a huge deal of it. They made a huge deal of it, trying to make an example out of me. And so I went to court, was found guilty. They charged 4 people out of 1,000 people that participated. They charged 4 of us. 2 were acquitted. 2 were found guilty. Federal judge had to recuse because of his close ties to the environmentalist communities. Yeah. 3 more judges recused. By the time I got sentenced to 10 days in jail instead of 2 years, which is what they've been asking for.
2 years for that?
They were wanting 2 years.
Oh my God.
When I put the paperwork forward to ask the judge to recuse because of his conflict, my attorney said, "You're going to end up with 5 years. You're going to go to jail for 5 years if you do this." And I said, "Well, he's got to recuse." And honestly, you get to the point, it's like whatever the cost is at this point, we're so far, it's like they've destroyed so much of your life, or tried so deliberately to destroy so much of your life. It's like, it's game on.
Yeah.
We're going the distance, 5 years, 10 years, 10 days, whatever. Anyways, when the judge recused, it changed the whole tenor. It's like, oh, so this judge shouldn't have tried the case in the first place. We should have got a new trial, but we didn't. So I went to jail for 10 days, got out, ran for the state legislature. You know, people where I'm from respect someone that stands up, especially to the Bureau of Land Management, because they know, they've experienced it. They've seen that they are not fair.
Well, we as people just respect anybody who wants to stand up for us. You know what I mean? Or for themselves, at least.
Right.
I love people who stand up for themselves. Like, I personally don't want my leaders to be people who just listen to somebody else, who listen to a higher up. I want my leader to fight for me.
Right.
So when I see your story, it's like, oh, imagine if he was able to fight for that small town. What is he gonna do to fight for me in Utah?
Yeah.
That's what I see.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people, I don't know if they're not smart enough to see that side, but I feel like that's what you have an advantage of, connecting with us in that manner, where you were a normal citizen that had a little bit of power and they try to push it down, but you said, nah, screw that. I know my worth. I know what I can do to help my people, you know, and I feel like that's important.
Yeah. I say, and I kind of come to say more often, that honest people have rights too. Oof. And the only hope they have is that other people will stand up for them when they're falsely accused, when they're falsely charged, when they're attacked. It's like, because it's scary. You see somebody getting attacked and it's like, oh, I don't want any part of this, you know? And if we stay that course, then the corrupt power grows and grows and grows.
Yes.
And nobody wants to take it on. Nobody wants to go to jail. Nobody wants to spend $400,000 in attorney's fees.
Yeah.
Like I did. But if nobody ever does it, then I don't know. Then what's the end result of that?
It's sad. It's a sad end result.
Yeah.
You know, it's a place where there's no opinion. There's no, hey, this is my side. Can we talk about my side too? Because that's what we need. Right. You know, I feel like there's a side of America who's being pushed down right now. That it's like, no, we matter and we don't want to listen to you. Right. Where it should be like, hey, we matter too. Right. You know what I mean?
And I love what you said about, whether right or wrong, stand up for yourself.
Yes.
Be a person. Yes. You have a right to occupy a whole space. Yeah. I love it too.
And that's what there's two parties, right? Like, that we really care about. There's two parties. It's like, why can we not hear the other side? Right. It's like there's this division where like this wasn't meant to be two parties. It was meant to be one thing that gives us the opportunity to just speak to each other, not to attack each other. Yeah. You know, and it's funny how I learned something from Dr. Phil, actually. He said that in an argument, you should start by listing the things that you agree on. Because then everything is better after that. Then you're in a better energy. But if you start by bickering to each other, if you start by attacking each other, you always add more to the fire, you know? And I feel like at the end of the day, like if they would have just came to you and talked to you, you would probably come into like a common space. But them taking an initiative to not even tell you, not even make you aware of what's going on, there's malicious intent there. Right. Right. You're doing something.
Well, and their motivation came externally. So the BLMs, in fact, the U.S. Attorney's Office reportedly, I got back, they said they got a petition with 3,200 signatures off the Wasatch Front, Alliance for a Better Utah, organize their people, send in a petition that we want Phil charged. And they said, well, we got a petition with 3,200 signatures. What are we supposed to do? Yeah. It was like, oh, so that's justice in America now? If you can get a bunch of people to sign a petition, okay, we'll take this guy and throw him in jail because a petition said so. It's the opposite of justice. It's the opposite of, a tolerable administration of that legal.
And you know what's annoying about that is that you can just get a bunch of friends to think the same way as you think. Right. Right? Like if I go, like let's say the Hey Lyman group goes, I want to sign a petition to get him out. I'm going to just go to the Lyman haters. That's not cool. What is that narrative based on? What I wish in a normal, perfect world would be everybody has a middle ground opinion. It's like, hey, can we look into this? But you don't know that. It might be a lot of their friends.
Yeah.
You know, so that's at the end of the day, I feel like it's, they were out for you. They were trying to make it look bad.
You know? I'll say one thing about this too, and that's lots of people have been unjustly targeted.
Many.
So I don't feel like a victim in this. I feel like I got a really valuable lesson and an education, and it gave me a greater appreciation. And it's really interesting because most people were on ATVs on that day.
Yeah,
I've become like a spokesperson for the ATV.
Yeah, the people. ATV community,
and they're a wonderful community. They're a wonderful group of people. That's like, those are the kind of honest people that you want supporting you.
Yeah,
I don't know that I deserve to be in that spot because I'm not a huge ATV rider. I don't have one, and I have to borrow my friends. You know,
cool.
It's fun, but it put me in association with those people. The other people that it put me in association with is people who are being targeted and unjustly, you know, and it doesn't matter if it's from DCFS and their kids are being taken away and they feel like it's unfair. They call me. They know you will understand. You'll understand what I'm dealing with. And that's important in government, that it's not an abstract thought to me when I hear somebody. I mean, I'm a CPA too, so I deal with the IRS, and I was targeted by the Utah State Tax Commission over a disagreement and a malicious type thing. So it's like, I understand it when someone says, hey, the court system is being really unfair to me. You know, a dad that's trying to get visitation rights for his kids, and they know that I'm gonna have a soft spot for them. Yeah. And as a result, I end up having really interesting conversations with people.
So you're a CPA, right? And your dad was a CPA as well.
Yeah.
How do you think being a CPA has helped you with the government stuff?
One thing I think, I look at systems. Yeah. So when you want to go get a loan at the bank, they want to see your financial statement, but they say, well, we don't just want you to give it to us. We want your CPA to sign off on this. Yeah. A level of assurance. So it's assurance services, and the CPA will take that, look over and say, yeah, we looked at everything. According to our records, the systems appeared right and the financial statements are correct. So going into government, number one, I can read a balance sheet and an income statement. That really is important to be able to know what you're looking at. I understand governmental accounting. I understand the numbers behind it, but I can also spot a system that is weak and like the elections right now. There's a weakness in the system, and it's the universal mail-in ballots. Now, there's ways that you can address that and fix that and address those weaknesses, and that's what systems do. Yeah. Is we address the weaknesses, and then the auditors come and they take a look at it and say, based on our review, we believe that the controls were put in place are sufficient to offset the weaknesses that are inherent in that system. Yeah, I think it's a really valuable. I think it's a really valuable skill because I'm a CPA, but. Yeah, so in government, that's been helpful to me. I can look at the property tax records, and I can do the statistical analysis and can point out things that are inconsistent and say, why is this happening? Why is this neighborhood getting reassessed more than this neighborhood? And those types of things are important.
Well, I love that because you've seen the movie The Accountant, right?
Yeah.
And it's awesome how you guys go so deep when you see a hole. And that's such a skill to have in the government. Yeah. You know, we need somebody who sees the holes and is like, hey, we need to close that hole. There's a leak over there. Right. You know, I feel like we need that a lot. What do you think is the problem right now in the current administration in Utah?
Well, on a much larger scale than the accounting, I see the current administration as a top-down mindset, that they give way too much respect and deference to the federal mandates that they receive. And then they also give way too much direction and dictating what happens at the county level and down below them. So in a Republican form of government, we believe that government derives its just power from the consent of the governed. It's from the bottom up. If the people don't want it, they're not going to get it. Well, in Utah, it's like, well, if you don't like it, you better get ready because you're going to get fined. You're going to get penalized. You don't want to wear a mask. Your business is going to get fined $10,000. We're going to preach to you. We're going to morally shame you. All of these things, propaganda up and down I-15 on the billboards. That's a top-down government. It's the start of a totalitarian regime, and
it's following the orders.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like sometimes you need to be against the rules a little bit just to challenge them. You know, I feel like there's a going too far place too, but hey, challenge them.
Right.
You know, challenge the beliefs. Challenge like, hey, is this good for my state? You know?
Yeah. So policy, you know, setting policy.
Yeah.
It calls for some intelligence, right? It's not a knee-jerk reaction. It's not like, oh, this is unconstitutional, I'm going to vote against this. Like, no, we take some intelligent look at things. And we say homelessness, for example.
Yeah.
Intelligent policy could say, we're going to try to help these people that can be helped without creating an incentive for people to become homeless and creating an industry out of it and turning it into a problem. Immigration, the same thing. We create these policies that affect people. Land management.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's what got me. It's like, you guys have created policies that not only do they not work for the people on the ground, but they actually end up hurting people really badly. And that policy is not benign. It trickles down, and pretty soon people are, finding themselves in court or losing their homes or losing their jobs because of some policy that was passed. So,
well, the scariest thing, Phil, is that the homeless problem has become what has made a lot of people rich. It makes no sense, but that I have a problem with that.
I do too.
Because it's like all the homeless people are still in the same place, but the people who are helping are just gaining more money. They're becoming more richer. And it's best for them to keep the problem going instead of fixing it.
A crisis.
And that's scary. Yes, that's scary when the people at power don't see that. Like, hey,
right,
you're not helping. You're just helping yourself. You know, I feel like that's such of a topic that it needs to be talked about very deep for people to understand that it's not just about the problem, it's how they're using the problem for gain.
Right. And
that's not good.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So when it comes to immigration as well, we have a big problem right now in Utah where there's I'm an individual who came to this country illegally, but I went through the whole process.
Good for you.
And I'm talking about, awesome. I left the country just to be able to come back legally. And to me, it was so hard because I love this country so much that I had to leave. I've lived an illegal immigrant's worst nightmare, meaning leaving and coming back just so I can be okay, right?
Right.
So I have a problem with people coming into this country just for free. Like, you don't have to work for this. You know, it's not fair for me. It's not fair for my family that we've been here paying taxes for so long. We've been good citizens, good people, and we don't get help. But the people who just came that we don't know anything about, they get help? Right. That makes no sense.
Right.
You know, what do you think about the immigration problem right now in Utah?
Well, again, it's policy that. So you've got, this is not abstract to you. This is real life.
This is
you know more about it than I do.
Yeah.
From a personal experience. But Utah has created policy that not only makes us a magnet for non-citizens to come here, but especially for non-citizens if they have criminal intent. Because of our policies of not detaining non-citizens for longer than 72 hours.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And we can say, well, that's not our policy. That's the federal government. And this gets back to the central thing of like, okay, well, the federal government has given us two orders. Number one, you should, detain non-citizens, but you should release them after 72 hours.
Yeah.
And I say, if our jails are good enough for our citizens, they're good enough for our non-citizens. You break the law in Utah, you're gonna go through the due process.
100%.
If ICE has a problem with that, come and take those folks and deport them or put them somewhere else. But why does that become such a burden and a strain on our local communities?
Yeah.
And honestly, that's a really good question. Is why are we allowing ourselves to kind of be overwhelmed by this immigration thing, and it's not organic. It's not just a bunch of people who really want to be in America. Some of them do have criminal,
100%
criminal intent, and in Utah, it's a really safe place for those people to come. So we create policy that takes a maybe a challenge and turns it into a genuine crisis.
Well, I feel like even in the internet or just we have this freedom fighters, right? The fake freedom fighters. So everything should be okay. Everything should be good, right? And they constantly always say, oh, like let's say when Trump said that the bad people come to America, right? Well, they are like, why would you classify every single person as bad, right? But me, as an ex-illegal immigrant, I know that there's bad people. I know that there's bad of us, and the good of us get overwhelmed by all these bad ones, and it's like, I personally have cousins who are next to me fucking up, messing up. And I'm like, why do you not have pride in this country? Like this is a land for prosperity. This is a land to gain knowledge, to grow and to be free. And like, but why come in here and mess it up? But the problem is that now it's like they get an easy way because it's like, oh, I keep messing up because they can't do anything to me. That's messed up. I believe that if you're a bad person, you should deal with the consequences.
Right.
If you're a good person, you should be awarded. But for this people to feel like it's okay, it's like we're rewarding bad behavior. That's not good.
Well, and that gets back to the intelligence part of policy. If policy can't distinguish between, a single mother who's genuinely fleeing for her safety, and a drug dealer, fentanyl dealing person that's cartel driven, if you can't make policy that distinguishes between those two, and yet as soon as you make a policy that says we're going to be hard on illegal immigration.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, you're trying to keep this, this poor single mother and send her back to the Darien Gap to lose her life. And it's like, no, that's not the discussion that we're having here.
Yeah.
We're trying to have an actual policy discussion of how do we help people?
Yes.
The prison system, the same thing. It's like, okay, well, how do we help people? If it's really a correctional facility to help somebody correct their life, why do we take people who are really not criminals at all and put them in a system that turns them into criminals?
Yeah.
And we take other people who are criminals and they get released out back onto the streets.
It makes no sense.
It's unintelligent.
Yes.
And it's that the money, the power, the corruption that forces you to make unintelligent policies, and then surprise, surprise, the outcomes are negative.
Someone like you have a good head on your shoulders when you come in. It's like, hey, can we really look at this? Can we try to at least understand it? Not like you said, just listen to the higher ups, because then you become a puppet. We don't want a puppet as our leaders. We want somebody who really challenges their beliefs.
Right.
Right. So let's say tomorrow you win election. Your first day as a governor, what are you doing?
I would probably ask for resignation of a lot of people and then reapply for your job back, and we'll see.
Oh, that's very good. That's smart.
I think you've got to do that. I think that sends a message that this is not a guarantee for you. This is that there is a new administration. We're going to do things differently.
I love that.
And then I would start the process of scrutinizing the executive office. I say scrutinize, minimize, optimize, and if possible, privatize. That's not going to happen on day one, but that would be the process. And I want the executive branch, which is a really powerful branch.
Why is it so powerful?
It's the executive. It's the CEO of the state.
Okay.
But what it isn't, it's not the legislative branch. It's not the judicial branch. It's not our moral, pastor. It's the executive function, and it's like, do the executive function. Let's like trim down all of the nonsense, get down to a really good, effective, efficient executive branch. Empower the legislative branch to be the legislative branch. Right now, what I see is the governor is really involved in drafting legislation, and it's funny how he walks around saying, I reduce taxes and I pass this bill and I pass that bill. It's like, well, you don't do that as a governor.
Yeah,
that's a disconnect right off the bat. It's like,
well, it was funny because even in the own Republican Party, I was there. I was sitting front row when he went and came and did a speech, and people were booing him. As he's talking about the things he's done, people were saying, no, you haven't. And the fact that he looked scared and he looked nervous, that tells me something. Because if you really believe in who you are and what you're doing, you stand up.
Right.
Your chest is up. So that just came out weird to me,
Yeah. So that's proper lanes. It's like executive branch, legislative branch, judicial branch. Those are really powerful.
Yeah.
On the federalism side, you got the federal government, the state government, the county government. Those are really powerful. You put all those things in the right lanes, and it's like tuning up your car. It's like, wow, this thing works now.
Yeah.
And people, if they're waiting to see the federal government fix some of the problems like the national debt or,
that's a big problem.
Yeah, or immigration. It's like you're waiting on the wrong people. Who's going to fix the problems? Number one, you're going to fix your problems in your house.
Yes.
As a governor, I'm going to make sure that I get out of your way so that you can be a good dad, so that you can be a good community member, whatever. And that happens and that is the definition of a Republican form of government.
Yeah.
Hey, we do the important stuff, and there's lots of important stuff, but we don't meddle in people's lives. We don't take away their freedoms. We don't tax them too much.
Well, that's the funny thing, Phil, because I feel like we need to stop with the Republican and Democrat.
Right.
And look into the individual who's the leader. That's what I feel like we should do. Because, both parties are bad. Both parties have good. But who is the person who's going to implement these tools that we have? That's why I feel like we need to go deeper into who we electing, not what team I support.
Well, the Republicans have as bad a record as the Democrats when it comes to intervening in people's lives. It's like we don't like the Democrats. They're doing this. We want to do it this way. We want to intervene we want to tell you what to do on this side of the equation. And this gets back to kind of the Ron Paul, who you probably don't know, but Ron Paul, famous libertarian, and he just says, I trust people. That's the difference between him and others is I trust people to make the best decision.
Oh, I love that.
Is that not that's the bottom line. It's like, I trust people to make the best decision, not I will make a better decision for how to raise your kids. And we saw this during COVID where it's like, parents were being charged, called domestic terrorists for showing up. And it's like, that's got to be a wake-up call. In these last 3 years, that's got to be one of the biggest wake-up calls is that, attacking the very institution of parenthood, not good.
Yeah, no, not good. And I like that you're all about family because at the end of the day, as I get older, I understand that it's all about family. Yeah. It's all about my home. How is my home being protected?
Yeah.
Because it's funny, when I was 16 years old, I started, I feel like it's a lot of the parties thing, it comes to age. Because when I was a kid, I started a page called Let's Change the World. I was super open-minded and I wanted everybody. But as you get older, you understand that the world is not flowers and rainbows. It's not. It's hard. And then you start going smaller and your circle gets smaller and you start thinking like, it's about my family.
Yeah.
It's my family being protected.
Yeah.
Are my safeties being protected? And that's why I feel like when you're younger, you're more Democrat. And when you get older, you get more Republican. Again, they both have their goods and bads. But what do you think it's a problem right now in Utah that needs to be fixed like ASAP?
Our elections, we need to really address the elections. I've told my colleagues in the legislature, I'm not signing any of your bills until you bring me one to repeal SB 54, which is the signature path to get around. And it's not so much that the signatures are bad, it's that a political party should be able to choose their candidate the way they want and not have the state dictate to them that, you've got to allow an alternative path.
100%.
So whether you like it or don't like it, that's what you deal with at the party level, not at the legislative level. So I think we need to get that repealed. I like a Secretary of State position. Utah, we have a lieutenant governor that oversees the elections, and the lieutenant governor is not separate from the governor's race. It's one ticket. Yeah. So essentially the governor is over his own election, and I think that needs to be addressed. So elections are a big deal. Energy independence is, near and dear to my heart. I'm all about, if we're going to be a sanctuary state, let's be a sanctuary state for energy production. Tell the federal government, hey, thanks, but no thanks. We're going to produce energy, and we're going to, fire up our coal-fired power plants. We're going to put our mines back into operation. That's real wealth. That's when people are producing, they're it's real wealth, and you see people getting wealthy but doing really good things with it because it's coming from their communities. And
you want to encourage independence,
right?
I don't need the government to help me,
right?
I have my own dreams. Like even with this show, every single thing you've seen here, I got it.
Yeah.
I've never asked anybody for help. I've never asked anybody for anything. Let me do this, right? And that's what we need more of in America,
right?
In Utah. It's like you don't need anybody else. You need yourself to be strong.
Well, and it works.
Every single time.
Yeah, it works.
Because there's pride in that. And that's America. America came, like the founders of America came from somewhere else because they were being pressed. And they wanted something individual. They wanted something independent, right? our whole core is being independent.
Right.
And we are just wanting help from somebody else. It's like a third party is not going to help at all. It's just going to encourage your bad behavior.
And if a state can't step in and help the people of the state to accomplish that, then are they really a state?
They're not.
They're not. They just become part of the administrative process of the government in general, whether it's federal, state, county, who knows? We just know that the government does all this for us. But a state should be much more than that. That's why the 10th Amendment says we reserve those powers not delegated to the states or to the people, because it's the same thing. The state is the people. The federal government's not the people. The state and the state is the people.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's I always see it as in, I want to make sure my family and my house is safe and good. But you don't do that by going to clean the town hall.
Right.
You do that by cleaning your own house and making sure your house is okay, and then encouraging your neighbor to do the same thing that you do.
Yeah.
You don't do it by going out of your house to the next city. You don't do that. You start in your home. And that's what I love what you're doing, because it's all about Utah first. And that's what we need again. We need Utah first.
Yeah.
We need to get that power back, because, I don't want to be another California. I really don't want to be. I want to be Utah, and we love Utah for what it is.
Right.
And I don't want it to be taken over. What's your quality as a leader that you want other people to know you have?
Honesty is really important to me.
Oof, that's a big one.
The truth is really important to me.
Big.
I'm okay with disagree better as long as we start with the truth.
Yeah.
If we're not talking about the truth, then I'm not going to disagree better. I'm going to disagree loudly and the idea of sticking up for people who are honest, who are trying to live a good life. We owe that to them.
Yeah.
I guess I genuinely care about people and relationships. I was driving up here the other day and I thought, if I had $1 billion, I would want exactly what I have, which is good relationships and living in a place that I'm free to move about, and my grandkids are beautiful people, and there's each one of I got 17 of them.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's my dream someday. I don't know if my girl wants, but
I say my kids are very competitive. So if someone says that they're going to have a baby, then the rest are like, oh, we're going to have one too. And next thing you know, but every one of them, I'd pay $1 billion for their smile. And it's like, but I have all of it. So it's like, why would I be trying to get more? Why would I be trying to expand? I want relationships. I want the ability to go out and be on the land and be close to the soil and be close to the people that are important to me. And we all live such, great lives, with Netflix and everything you could possibly want. But if we lose our relationships, then what, or our freedom, what else?
Well, they did a study, and they found out that, they asked people for I think it's for 50 years. They asked people what happiness meant for them, right? And they found out that happiness is your relationships.
Right.
No money can make you happy. No a person can make you happy. It's how rich are your relationships to others. And even the one of the things that I applaud from you is that you're so humble. Just being here means the world to me. But especially when we did the first clip that we did, on the convention.
Oh yeah, yeah.
No other elective came to me and said, "Hey, I would like to know more about you and even maybe do something." Right? That meant a lot. That you were the one that came to me. And you said we should do a episode or something.
I could tell an interesting person when I see him. As soon as you walked in, I was like, I need to talk to this guy. I need to talk to this guy.
But it was just really cool to see that you are willing to be like, hey, I want to learn about this. It's not just, a lot of candidates or a lot of people are just like, oh, this is my thing. This is my race. I'm doing this. I don't need nobody else. When in reality, it should be like, how can we work as a team? Because at the end of the day, we're all just the team that we're trying to get the best for everybody.
I love people that have private jets and lots of money too. Yeah. I think it's great. Yeah. I wouldn't ever want to disparage that, because man, I'd be all right if I had a company that took off, and I hope that for you.
Yes, 100%.
And maybe that is something that's different for me. I really take satisfaction in the success of other people. I look at people who are doing so well, and I maybe I can't say I've never had any jealousy, but I really don't have jealousy. I'm so happy for them. And I hope for them. I hope this doesn't hurt your life. I hope all this money doesn't like affect you negatively. So genuinely, I love people. I love success. I love business. I love families. Freedom. If somebody wants to be a transgender, I look at it, I think, I can kind of relate to that. It's like,
I love that.
Right? It's like, I understand nonconformity. I understand wanting to like challenge the boundaries. And it's like, well, that's not my course, but I value that. If I value my own freedom, then I value your freedom too. Like, go do your thing. But at the bottom of at the end of the day, we still have to look out for our kids. We have to make sure that our kids are safe. They should be able to walk down.
100%.
They should be able to walk downtown Salt Lake without, fearing, stepping over homeless people and fearing that something's going to happen. And right now we don't have that. We don't have the safety and security. That's government control. That's all the other stuff. That's what we do naturally. What is government supposed to do? They're supposed to keep us safe, protect our stuff without taking all of our stuff. And
you say I'm them the same way. I have so many different type of people on this show. So many different. I had a transgender in here.
Right.
And the coolest thing is that they understood what they are. It wasn't so delusional that it's like, no. I know what's going on. I know this is a thing that happened to me and I understand.
Right.
And that's beautiful too.
Right. And
to me, I'm like, yes, go ahead, keep it going. But it's annoying when there's a fine line of peace and delusion. That you just know where you are and you know where you want to be. And then it's like, you're crazy. You don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, it's like, stay out of my little girl's bathroom type thing.
Yeah,
because that little girl's got rights too. Or, boys and girls sports. Like, that's not cool. No, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. Just say, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
But instead it's like, oh, well, we have to. And we have to use the right pronouns. We have to do this. And pretty soon you're in this weird space. It's like, well, did I give up my own identity so that your identity can be validated? It's like, I'm a person. I just want to live my life.
And that's when we go into, you have the right to be whatever you want, but I have the right to support you or not.
Right.
As well.
It's my choice.
And we live life perfect like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that, it's being pushed into my throat. Like, you have to. It's like, no, I don't. I don't want to. I can give you the time of day to understand you. And if I don't understand you, then okay, cool. Let me live my life still.
Somebody the other day said, it's interesting. You seem to have a lot of support from the LGBTQ community. And why do you think that is? And I said, because I believe that whether the people like freedom, whether you're on the left or the right, people like freedom. They like to be able to make their own choices, and I support that. They would find a person with me. It's like, I'm not condoning, I'm not judging it at all. I just want the same thing for myself. Let me live my life as well. Let me choose how to run my business and raise my children, and whether I want to get a vaccination or not, or wear a mask or not. Government should do less, It's just like, just back off, let people live their life, and especially the state governments. So it honestly is a beautiful thing. And you get the counties working right, and the families and the schools, and so much good you can do if you don't have the ulterior motives.
Well, I believe that I don't care if you're a turtle, I don't care if you're a pony, I don't care if you're a horse, as long as you're a good person. Like, do you take your time to listen to other people? Do you not have a malicious intent? That's what I care about. I don't care what you are, I don't care what you believe you are. Just be a good person and let me live my life so you can live yours too. That's my perfect reality, but at the current rate.
Yeah, I mean, I've got plenty of flaws,
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for people who have a level of tolerance for me and a level of forgiveness for me. Grateful for my wife who
shout out to women and our partners, because sometimes we go crazy.
So I'm grateful to my kids, that have things don't always go smoothly, and in politics things don't always go smoothly. You say things you maybe wish you could take back, or you wish you didn't vote on a certain way on a bill or something else. So there's a lot of room for grace in our society too, so I'm a grateful person. Hopefully I'm not judgmental too much, but hopefully I have enough judgment to make sure that I prevent my family from falling into bad times and things. So I don't know.
But it's it's crazy. It's sad that I'm very good with people because I meet so many people and we have an hour conversation with people. So I know so many different perspectives. I believe that we're like a crystal ball. Every single one of us is that little square and we make a big one, right? We all in the same reality, but we have different perspectives. We all share one.
That's right.
Right? And by listening to you, I understand that you care about the other perspective. It doesn't mean you need to follow it, but you care. And it's like, it's sad that somebody will take that and be like, oh, you don't support 100%? You're against that.
Right.
No, we should have a conversation about this. And I don't know, I think it would be cool. It would be really cool for people to wake up and understand that we need difference. We need new. We need good. And that's why I in my age's term, I fuck with you, Phil.
Yeah.
So what do you believe? What does a perfect world look like to you?
Maximum freedom, ability to live your life and take responsibility for it. The challenges, I don't think this life was meant to be free of challenges. You need a mission. You need to go take on
the world.
Take on some dragons. Yeah, go fight. And
one of the reasons why I love Joe Rogan is because he loves doing hard things, because America is forgetting to go through the hard things.
It's so true.
And we need that. So
isn't it great? His format, the long format, and it's very real.
Yeah.
I mentioned Ron Paul earlier, and all he does is tell the truth, and the young kids go nuts over Ron Paul, an 80-year-old guy, but it's like he just tells them the truth, and they love it.
Truth.
So yeah,
that's all you need, the truth.
Yeah.
So you can challenge your own truth as well.
Always.
So thank you so much, Phil. This has been amazing.
Thank you.
I feel like hopefully the people can get to know you even better, and a lot of clarification comes out where people don't attack you, but they try to understand you for who you are.
You guys have a real gift for like framing the issue and talking about these things. And believe me, it's a huge honor for me to come and talk to you. I'm really, really grateful. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Phil. And one more thing. I always say this in the show, and I have to say it again. Guys, please, from the bottom of my heart, I always say this and they never listen. Stop cheating. There's a lot of cheating going on. And it's scary. Not just in politics, personality, personal. People are cheating on themselves. People are cheating in the government, everything, and I always say, stop cheating. No cheating. It's not good for you. It's not good for your soul.
It'll come back.
Yeah,
it'll come back to you.
Karma, yeah. So thank you so much, Phil. Where can people find you? Or do you got to tell them?
Social media, Instagram and Twitter, and then on my homepage, Lyman for Utah, FOR, lymanforutah.com.
Let's go. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Love you guys. Don't forget to drink water. Stay safe. Peace out.
Right on.
Let's go. Thank you so much, Phil. That was awesome. Thank you.
You got amazing energy.
This was